Let's start. Good afternoon, members of the 40th State. We have called you this afternoon to address specifically two issues. I think we have seen two developments that have taken place in the past few days, two disturbing developments. The first one is a threat on labor and trade union leaders. The second one is the deterioration of the living and working conditions of our civil servants. And to take us through the party's position on those two critical issues is Honorable Gideon Shoko, who is the party's Secretary for Labor and Social Security. On his right-hand side here is the party spokesperson. Honorable Shoko was supposed to be accompanied by leader Morini Kademaonga, who is our Secretary for Public Service and Social Welfare, but she's not around. But I think Honorable Shoko will do justice to the two issues that are of great concern to the party. So we will speak to the issues, and then after which we will open the floor for questions.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming. I see that's quite a big number of juniors that have just come. As you were told, my name is Gideon Shoko, Secretary for Labor. The MDC finds it unbelievable to have trade union leaders being harassed and intimidated in a country that purports to want to bring in investors. The government should immediately investigate the issue where leaders of the ZCTU, that is the Secretary General of the ZCTU, Japhet Mo, and the President of the ZCTU, Peter Mtasa, were sent bullets in letters threatening them. This is not right, and it violates the Constitution of Zimbabwe. As you know, Section 65 deals with labor rights, and in those labor rights, those people are allowed to organize any of the actions that they want: strike, stay away, whatever action that they want. And therefore, the issue of sending them bullets to us, it's unheard of. It should not happen. Secondly, I also want to address the issue of public service employees. Public service employees have raised the issues of their salaries. Their salaries have not been increased. As you know, salaries were increased to 209. And they were increased when they were US dollars. And when there were changes that were made, that is to say, RTGS was equal to US dollar, there were no negotiations to change the system. When they then said the RTGS is now based on the interbank setup, they did also not adjust the salaries of the civil servants. So the civil servants are right by demanding that they be given salary increases. Us as MDC are very clear about these issues. These issues are happening because of the politics of the country. That's why we say, let's deal with the politics. And then when we dealt with the politics, everything will fall in place. Socially, economically, all those things will fall in place. So it's very important that the government must work on these things as soon as possible so that we have a satisfied public service and an efficient public service. With those few words, I can get questions from you. I thank you.
Okay, before I open the floor for questions,
yeah, just to emphasize that it is the position of the MDC that we are not going to address the symptoms of a decline in the economy, because that will not take us forward. So as the MDC, we believe that first and foremost, we need to address the political issue that is the big elephant in the room in Zimbabwe, the crisis of legitimacy. Unless and until we resolve our concerns around the electoral process, that we have the outcome of last year's election, which we as the MDC remain clear, according to our own computation, we are aware that our President Nelson Chamisa won the election, and the announcements that were made by SEC, up to today we still don't know how they came up with the percentage. but we are sure that President Chamisa got more than 2.6 million votes. So the first and most important thing is that as Zimbabweans, we need to address the issue of political legitimacy. And after that, we need to talk about a transitional mechanism, a process where, as a country, we come together, all the different key stakeholders, and agree on how we move forward beyond this current political establishment, which we are very sure that even if we try and pray and fast, this current ZANU-PF government does not have the capacity to transform the economic fortunes of this country. The situation will continue to go from bad to worse. So we're also talking about comprehensive reforms, not just electoral reforms, but other key like security sector reforms and so on, and also aligning ourselves to the 2013 constitution. But beyond that, we're talking about the end game being an enabling environment for a free and fair election, so that we have stability politically, because it's clear that in Zimbabwe, unless and until you address the fundamental issues around the politics, the economy is going to suffer. So that is the broader picture that the MDC is looking at. All these issues around the teachers, around the doctors, around the nurses, around the monetary policy, inflation, around all the problems that we're having, fuel queues, all those issues are just symptoms of a bigger issue, which is the crisis of legitimacy in terms of the politics of the country. So that is our position as the MDC. Thank you.
Thank you, spokesperson. In which case, now is open the floor for questions. Anyone with a specific question on the issues that have been addressed? Yes?
Okay, my name is Kunzi from the Chat. With regards to the issue MR77, the Apex Council yesterday, they said they want a minimum wage of about 4,000 RTGS dollars. Do you strongly believe that government has the capacity to meet this figure?
Okay. I'll take 3 questions before I ask the panel to respond to the questions. Another question?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. Where you are saying the Apex had put forward a proposal of 4,000 RTGS figures. Our understanding of that 4,000 RTGS figures is it was a negotiating figure, and therefore any figure that they would have agreed on, with them looking at the facts, it would be fine for them, because look, what we are talking about here is bilateral, where 2 people agree. So 4,000 was a proposal that was put forward by the Apex Council. It was not a dead hand. We're saying we are going to negotiate on a 4,000, and we don't know how much government put. So government must go ahead and negotiate, because that's what the Labour Act says. You negotiate what has been put on the table.
So I think the question was, do we think that the government has the capacity? Obviously it doesn't have.
Yeah.
Because if you consider the level of salaries that even civil servants are getting right now, I think it's the worst since independence. We are practically living below the poverty line. So that's why we're saying that the current political setup as it stands does not have the capacity. Not even in 1,000 years, they will not be able to resolve. Because if we were to give every civil servant 4,000 RTGS, where would that money come from? We know that the economic fundamentals of this country are not in place. So clearly, we need to go beyond the current government, because anyone having faith in this government, they will wait until the papers come on. They simply do not have the capacity, and we need to go beyond ZANU-PF. We are now saying it's no longer a ZANU-PF matter, it's no longer an MDC matter. It is a national crisis. We need to resolve it as Zimbabweans, and we have historical precedents that were capable as Zimbabweans to come together, all different stakeholders, business, civil society, trade unions, political parties, churches, everyone coming together and saying, let's save our Zimbabwe, let's work together. We did it in 2007 and 8. We did it also with the 2009 global agreement, so political agreement. So it's clear that unless and until we address the political fundamentals, the economy will continue to move from bad to worse. So no, the government does not have the capacity to pay 4,000 RTGS.
Another question? Yes.
My name is Lucy Yasini. I'm a freelance journalist. Spokesperson, you're saying you need to go beyond the ZANU-PF, the government. Are you as a party advocating for another GNU?
We are not advocating for a repeat of what happened in 2009. We want something much more robust, much more engaging, much more consulting. Because if you notice that in 2009, the mediators excluded every other Zimbabwean stakeholders and focused on specific political parties who were in parliament. That was a narrow process. And we are going to go beyond that process. So the MDC is not advocating for the repeat of the global political agreement. But what we're advocating for is an all-inclusive approach beyond the political parties that then discusses the issue around the transitional mechanism. And beyond that transitional mechanism, we discuss issues around comprehensive reforms. And then beyond those reforms, we discuss issues around having a credible, a free and fair election to have a decisive conclusion to this matter, so that we have a government that everyone can claim and accept that it is the government of Zimbabwe. Because right now, that is the problem that we have. It's a crisis of political legitimacy. After every election, we do not move forward. An ordinary country everywhere in the world, they have elections, after elections, they move forward. Zimbabwe, we don't move forward. Like right now, we're stranded because we are having elections that are not credible, electoral results that are disputed. So right now, as we speak this afternoon, the MDC does not accept the results of the presidential election last year, as announced by SEC. We do not accept them. The other day I was being asked about the Constitutional Court. I said, it's now a year later. Has anyone seen the judgment of the Constitutional Court? I have not seen it. Have you? Because we're just given the summary, but the rationale behind the decision, we haven't seen it. Maybe once we have seen it, we might reconsider our position, but our own research clearly shows, because we're able to compute our results from polling stations across the country, and we estimated that President Nelson Chamisa won the elections. Clearly, we got 2.6 million votes. He won the election. We are very clear as the MDC. We won the elections. So, unless and until this issue is resolved, we do not recognize the presidents of ED as the MDC. And someone said, but why are you recognizing the councillors? Why are you recognizing the members of parliament? We said, yeah, but everyone knows that way the harmonized election. So you can't say that the elections are the same. You were given 3 ballots. You voted for a councillor, you voted for an MP, you voted for a president. So the electoral results are not the same. This explains why, if you look across the country, the majority of the local governments are under the MDC. This explains why, if you go to parliament today, ZANU-PF is not leading parliament by 50%. It's got 2/3 majority. Suddenly, presidential results, ED won by 50.6%, 50.8%, depending on which number you want to deal with, except from ZEC, because they never had a final number. So, that explains that people could have voted, and we now know from our own research that President Chamisa was even getting higher votes even than his own MPs, than his own councillors, where other people were voting for ZANU-PF or other parties for councillors and for MPs. And then for the president, they were voting for Advocate Chamisa. So we are very clear about that one. In most constituencies, that was the trend. Advocate Nelson Chamisa is by far the most popular politician in Zimbabwe today. He has no rival. Even on Twitter, those who are on Twitter, go and check it out. Over 500,000 followers. The only Zimbabwean who has got that kind of following. Zimbabweans have faith in Advocate Nelson Chamisa. The electoral system has let them down. That is where we are as MDC.
Thank you, spokesperson. Any other burning question? In which case, I just want to thank you, journalists, for coming to our press conference. I think we have opened a new chapter. We are going back to the system where once in a while we'll be calling you to press conferences that are going to be addressed by our portfolio secretaries, just as Honorable Gideon Shogobe has done. That's where we are getting, so that we will see more and more of our portfolio secretaries speaking to issues that fall under their remit and responsibilities.
Okay. Can I just add that we have a chat group called Media Alert. Some of you are in that chat group where we are sharing all the information, the press release and so on. So we want to encourage you to join the chat group. I think right now it's got 107 journalists. So we want, if you are here and you are not in the chat group, And then we are also going around meeting all the media houses. Feel free to reach out to us, but we are also going out. Today we're at Alpha Media Holdings. We met about 7, if not 8 editors, and we had a discussion with them. So we're going around meeting all the stakeholders. Beyond the news, we will also go to the civil society and the media and all the representative organizations. So we want you to understand that as a communications department, we want to be transformative in our approach. We want to be interactive in our approach. We want to be accessible in our approach. And beyond that, we are ensuring that the leadership of the MDC is accessible to the media. Tomorrow, here at Morgan Tsvangirai House, we are having the first of our provincial workshops, where we are targeting all the 13 provinces that we have. And we are starting with Harare province, where we have invited all the MPs, all the senators in Harare. We have invited all the councillors in Harare. We have invited all the provincial executive members for youth, for women, for the main wing. We have invited all the Harare districts. There are 29 of them, 20 something, if not 28. We have invited all the district chairpersons and every spokesperson for each district for a training, orientation training. And beyond that, we'll continue to have training even on the structures, on the lower level. The MDC is the most institutionalized organization in Zimbabwe today. There is no organization that can compare itself to the MDC in terms of institutional structure and capacity. We are in the process of setting up branches across the country, polling station-based branches. In the next 2 to 3 months, we'll be having committees at polling station level. So we are taking the MDC back to the people. So as journalists, we want to encourage you in the long term to feel free to work with us, because we really want to make sure that the MDC is the most accessible institution for the media. So we want to work with you, and feel free, especially those who are in radio and television. We want to work more with you, because we're seeing that we've been working less and less. Last night I was at Capital FM. So invite us to the live discussions, invite us to the to your shows and programs. So thank you so much for coming. Those who are interested in Bulawayo, I know some of you are. Tomorrow, all the councillors from Bulawayo will be here at Harvest House. We're having an internal process to resolve those issues that are affecting the city of Bulawayo. But as you might be aware, we have managed to de-escalate the situation by saying, let us return to the status. And what it means is that we are saying the town clerk should be back at work pending further investigations. That is the current position of the party. But tomorrow, all the councillors are traveling to meet the national leadership. And they will have a close meeting, unfortunately. But keep your ears on the ground. Maybe we might have a press release or a press conference afterwards. But we will sit down in a close meeting and discuss and try to unpack and resolve the issues. But we want to assure the people of Bulawayo that the MDC is going to do its best to make sure that whatsoever happened last week, which we regret, is fully resolved. The MDC is a people's movement, and we want to make sure that the situation in Bulawayo is fully resolved soonest. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. And just as the spokesperson has said, if any one of you is not in our group media alerts, you can give Mr. Moise there your number so that we can include you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming.